I gotta ask y'all a question, man. If y'all are at someone else's house, right? Whether it's a party, it's just like a little dinner gathering, whenever you're at someone else's place, right? And you go to the bathroom, and the bathroom is dirty, right? Like someone pissed all over the seat. There's maybe some poop scuffs, and all that. Like all in all, the toilet is dirty, right? It looks like a mess. Do you clean it? You know what I'm saying? Like people, I don't know if people keep track of like who went to the bathroom last, but the worst case scenario is like when someone's waiting for you outside, like someone's waiting to use the restroom and you're in there. And then you gotta like walk out there and be like, oh, someone else left a mess in there. Whereas, like you might get your hands dirty, it's dirty, right? Like you shouldn't be cleaning other people's toilets, whether you're doing it the right way with the scrub and whatever, all that stuff. Like obviously, you're using proper materials. You're not cleaning it with your hand and toilet paper, right? You're using the brush. Maybe it's on the side. Maybe it's dirty. But like, what are you supposed to do? Like, what is the socially correct thing to do? I am of the belief that, you're supposed to leave things cleaner than you found them. And on top of that, I want to have a good impression. I want you to have a good impression of me. I want you to know that, like, oh, this person doesn't leave a toilet a mess. Whereas, if they go into that bathroom after you, they're going to be like, what the fuck is this? Maybe you didn't get a chance to tell them like, hey, someone else actually left that mess. And, there's a very low chance that they already know that the bathroom's a mess. And then it's like, oh, look, every time he's drinking, he's leaving the toilet a mess. It's like, no. So I'm just curious, what do y'all do? I don't know. Like I feel like you're supposed to clean it. But that could be like the dirty thing to do. Or maybe I do have a little of the tism. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Ajay Patel Show, episode 95. Holy shit. We're almost there, huh? Almost at the 100. My name is Ajay Patel, your gracious host. And that's right. You see me wearing a hat. I'm not going to lie, y'all. I think I just repaired my relationship with hats. Like growing up, I always wanted to be a hat guy. I grew up in the era of the, like the snapback era where people leave the tags on the top or bottom. And I grew up in that era. One of the greatest eras. And then right before that, the fitted era, right? All the New York hats, all the LA Dodgers hats, they were fitted. You go to the store, you maybe get something, stitched on the side. They're the freshest hats out there. And every single time I would try to wear a hat, I think in my lifetime I've had like 5 combination of snapbacks and fitteds. And even some of the casual ones, right? Like the ones that you randomly find at Express Men or Zara, things like that. And every single time, bro, it just would never work out. The only hat that I felt comfortable wearing was like a gardener's hat. A hat that kind of like went all around the side. And I was just like, okay, you know what? This feels right to me. Like maybe I should be in agriculture. Maybe I should be Indiana Jones. Never tried on the cowboy hat, which we'll get to in a second. But now, I and we're about to get to this, but it's just like I went to the Houston Rodeo. I needed some rodeo apparel. I was wearing just shorts and a t-shirt. And so I bought this hat. And I said, you know what? It's going to work out. It's going to work out. I put the hat on and I looked at myself. I said, damn, bro, you are all right. And some of y'all may have your opinions. I get it. But in my head, I'm telling y'all, I had this just relationship with hats where I was just like, there's a whole apparel item that I can just never engage in. And now I feel like, holy shit, I can shop for so much more now. I can start a collection of hats now. I can put this into my dad era of dressing. I told y'all I'm still trying to figure out who I am as this new era dad. And this might be part of it. We see the mustaches on me. Now the hat might be a piece of it. Now what the hell am I talking about? Ladies and gentlemen, today we have a kind of a dark episode. A dark episode that, gets a little bit lighter as we close. We're going to talk a little bit about the conflict and the bombs that's getting dropped, in addition to some of the reflections I have as being a dad for 2 months. Just crossed that milestone. And before all of that, I did go to the Houston Rodeo. Now, this was my first time going to the rodeo, and I gotta say, it feels like the State Fair of Texas. It feels like the State Fair of Texas. Now, I went like a Wednesday morning, so I didn't get to see all the kind of the fun stuff that they say that happens at night, whether it's the concerts, whether it's the wrangling of the cattle, whatever that side is. I didn't get to really see the fun stuff. But what I did see was like these kids bringing out their cattle, and they have them posing a certain way. And then, there's like a group leader that's like explaining, hey, well, this one is a thoroughbred, and, this heifer and this is that. And, oh my gosh, this heifer is just strong. And look at that pose. And wow, this heifer has just got a real good skin on him. And I got to see that piece. And it reminded me of some of those, these like programs that I was in school. My biggest thing was like this thing called Destination Imagination, where you would join up this team in your school and you'd engage in this challenge that you're building towards throughout the year. And then, you go compete, you take a bus, you're like shuttling with other parents, you try to win a prize. And this is what that felt like to me, where it's just like, oh shit, like I've never seen this program in anywhere I grew up, right? Like I don't think any of the schools I went to ever engaged in a program like Future Farmers of America, Future Farmers for America, whatever it's called. And to see this, where it's like, holy shit, there is a whole group of kids out there that are just, maybe on a Wednesday afternoon or part of their school day, or maybe they're going on the weekends, going to a ranch and, upkeeping their cattle, whether it's feeding them, breeding, like whatever it is. I had no idea people like this in Texas. And it makes sense, right? Like this is Texas after all. And more, like just walking through more of the inside area of the rodeo, it was kind of revealing, where I was just like, damn, bro, like, should I start eating beef? Like I get it. There's a whole, whatever your morale is to not eat beef, whether it's religion, whether it's, like you're just practice vegetarianism, or you're big vegan. Maybe you have a problem with the dietary side of it. Maybe you have a problem with the moral side of it. But when you see it kind of just like laid out to you of the full process of how, like, let's say a burger is put out into the wild, right? Like for you to order a burger, where does that beef originally stem from? And it's kind of cool to see, like obviously it's kind of like a dark thing, where it's just like, oh shit, like that animal that's in front of me right now, it is gonna get slaughtered for me to consume it. Now, and this part, I've never been good with. I've never been good at seeing the animals alive. There was another part of the rodeo that had a lot of other live animals, like chickens and whatnot. Now, I ate a ton of chicken. Now, seeing the chicken alive, I just don't want to engage in that, right? Like, I don't want to see the thing that I'm eating in its alive form. I don't want to see it getting killed. I don't want to see it getting butchered, skinned, whatever. And it might be a little bit hypocritical, but I just don't want to see it. I don't want to see it. I don't have a problem with it happening behind the door and then it being served to me, right? That's a little bit better. I don't want to hear any noises, and I don't want to see any blood. I don't want to see it alive. I don't want to see it breathing. I just want to see it fried. And that's the weird piece to me, where it's like, I do have an appreciation for this big economy, this world of farming, agriculture, producing meat for probably a lot more states than just Texas. And then you find out, wow, like 98.5% of the farmland in Texas is owned by individuals or families. Now, like there's some asterisks by that, right? Where it's like, okay, well, how many of these families are basically a corporation, but just a little bit more family owned, and it has a nicer title? But that piece doesn't matter. Overall, coming back to, it was an experience that I was just a little caught off guard with. But at the same time, I was like, damn, like I would love to just one day just be at a bar and just cutting it up with a farmer. Because what a different life, right? No one in my friend circle, immediate family circle, let's go 3 degrees from a friend, right? A friend of a friend of a friend. No one I know has someone in that world of farming. And, I get to see a whole lot of other world, right? People maybe in the medical field, people that may be enlisted in the army, stuff like that. I don't see anyone in the farm field. So it'd be really fun to kind of, like in the future, get to just chit chat with someone in that world. Now then, let's take this hat off, because my shit is actually sweating under here, and hopefully I don't have too bad of hat hair. But let's start with this loser in Austin, Texas. So unfortunately, there was a shooting in Austin, Texas on 6th Street at a bar called, I forgot the name of it. Buford's. Oh my gosh, I thought I was gonna have to make an edit. Buford's, and now this is a bar that I frequented, maybe more so in my latter years than the earlier years. I went to college in Austin, Texas. Went out to 6th Street a ton, underage and of age, and of course, during my years, there was a more popular area of a Dirty Sixth. Now, this was kind of East Sixth before East Sixth got born, but it was never called East Sixth. There was either West Sixth or then there was Dirty Sixth. And then people would go out to like Rainy Street. Now, that was like the posh folks, or maybe you like got a promotion, or maybe you got your internship, then you go to Rainy Street. But for the dirty, you know what I'm saying? Like when you rush in those fraternities, when you're trying to meet girls, when you're trying to meet all these people of different ages, you go to Dirty. You go to Dirty Six, and there's probably like 2 or 3 bars. Now, every friend group, I would say actually, honestly, like every religion, every race had their own 2, 3 bars. And sometimes you get to dabble in both of them, right? Maybe you're in a spirit group, maybe you're on an Indian dance team, maybe you're a part of the UT acapella team, maybe a sports team. They all have different bars. Very rarely do you see like overlap of a basketball bar and an acapella bar, right? Those are normally separate worlds. But what I'm saying is this is a very big world of just going out, social culture. Now, I'm sure things have died out. Things have gotten worse with, alcohol's obviously on the decline. Partying is not what it is, I guess, used to be. People more so microdose, shrooms, blow, going out to EDM concerts. Like the club culture has shifted for sure since my time. Now, nonetheless, with a shooting like this, now, obviously, I don't need to recite the story. I don't really care who did it. They claimed an act of terror. They had the whole I'm doing this for Allah shirt on the dude. And I don't know how much of that is a setup. I don't know how much of that is just like a real life dude that's going crazy from seeing all this stuff on the news and being like, you know what, I need to do something about it. Getting his crazy ass a gun and going shooting up a bar. You know, like I think I talked about this in a previous podcast where it's like, is the conspiracy more explainable than someone just being crazy? Sometimes we did land on the moon. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can see someone losing their mind like this. I knew a lot of weirdos in college for the most part. You know, you meet a handful of people in different classes and stuff like that. And no one that's like expressed crazy thoughts like that, we're shooting up a bar. But it doesn't like throw you sideways to hear like, oh, someone felt this urge to conflict violence. Now, obviously, that violence gets multiplied times 10 whenever they can get their hands on a gun. Then this loser goes and shoots up a bar. He dies on site. And I think there was a South Indian girl that was part of it that kind of really started resonating with the community. And then you start seeing things on stories and whatnot. Now, my big what I wonder sometimes after something like this happens, whether it's a school shooting, whether it's a shooting at like a normal bar or a big music festival, is does this obviously happens. It's a very tragic event, but my kind of overarching question is like, does this ever play a factor to future turnout? So Buford's, right, the bar that this bar had a shooting at, in a week's time, in 2 weeks' time, will that bar have just as much traffic as it used to? Is there a push for, social advocates? Maybe they push for, hey, this people isn't going to scare us off of this bar. And then now there's more traffic than there ever used to be at this bar. Or, of course, what my theory is just I think traffic dies down after an event like this. After a shooting like this, whether it's a restaurant, bar, club, it doesn't matter. I think it is my assumption that traffic dies down. Now, I always think that, but then it's like these clubs, these restaurants, etc., I never do see them shut down, right? We've seen shootings at music festivals. We've seen gatherings like the Travis Scott Astroworld craze, in which there was no shooter involved, but people were dying just from trampling each other. Now, that doesn't change anything because now I see, this Houston Rodeo in which there's a ton of people getting together. And maybe these bigger events take certain precautions where they didn't do before, where they're using those learnings and making certain changes to say, hey, you know what, there's no way people will get trampled and killed here because, you know, we've increased the number of help, we've increased the surface space, we've limited the number of tickets we sell. But at the same time, for me, right, I have a fear of probably going to places like this. I personally don't like being out after like 9 p.m. on a regular day because it's like, hey, you know what, after the sun goes down, that's normally when the crazies come out. Are there crazies during the daytime? Of course there are. Of course there are. But if you're looking at the data, more of the crazies come out at night. And I don't understand, like, actually I do get it, right? Where it's like, I think people like me fall out of the funnel, but these social gatherings and these bars, this vibe in general will always have a healthy funnel of bringing people in. I'm sure there's restaurants that shut down. I'm sure there's certain bars that shut down, but I think that same amount of traffic just move over to a different bar. I don't think behavior changes to a certain degree. I think more so age changes that, right? Like I can attribute all these shootings and stuff being the reason that I don't really go out at night. But at the same time, I'm 31 with a kid, married. That is probably playing a bigger factor to me not going out than any of this other stuff. So if I wasn't in this world of married and a kid, would I be going out? Would I care that much that a shooting happened? Probably won't happen where I'm going, right? That's the mentality. That's the thinking. Now, going even deeper than that is this just going to play a factor in this world of the next couple of generations being a little bit more socially awkward, right? Like we've seen the trend of people being a little bit less social. Maybe they're stuck to screens. Maybe they don't know how to communicate a certain way. Every generation wants to take pride as being the most communicative generation. You know, like, oh, back in our time. But my stance with this couple generations coming after us is we've never seen something digital like this take over. We've never seen not only the digital, but this type of violence escalated, right? And that's escalated as far as the impact, right? How many people are getting killed, and escalated as far as the number of eyes that are seeing the news story afterwards. There used to be one person killing people in the town, and people used to focus on it, right? In Houston, Texas right now, I bet y'all, half y'all don't know that there is someone that's been linked to murders. They have no idea who it is. Now, that story used to be much more prominent, right? You see the local story, you keep your eyes on that. You keep your eyes on that. Whether you live in Austin, Dallas, like if you're within that vicinity, you keep your eyes on that story. But now with the number of stories that flow in and just bounce one out of the other spot, how does that play a factor in kind of like the social attention span? Does that make people a little bit more focused, or does that kind of just distract to the point of you see so much of, chaos, violence, that you're almost appalled to going out, right? All you see is these negative stories. I'm never going to go out. I'm never going to go to a bar. I'm never going to go to a cocktail lounge. I'm just going to get an arranged marriage and just eventually just hope that, my tennis club, I meet someone there, or I marry someone on my dance team. And that's my biggest fear, where it's just like, I thoroughly enjoyed that life, right? I love going out to a happy hour. I love going out to a bar and just kicking it, meeting people, talking to people, hearing the sounds, right? The plates and forks clinking, glasses clinking, wine getting poured. There's an ambiance of going out. You're getting dressed up at night. People are looking a little bit more fancy than they did during the day. You're talking, you're socializing. Maybe you socialize after that. And you keep this going, right? And now you can interact with people of different ages. You're a fun person to be around because you've practiced talking. Versus, what I think will currently happen is there will be such a fear of going out and doing social things because it's like, oh, I might get shot. And I think that will also play a role in people just having no interesting stories to tell. And so this is my biggest fear, right? As having a kid, that it's like, man, I really hope, one, you don't like be a real, I hope you don't like go into one of these like heartbreak holes that I've seen some girls my age go into, where it's like They get dumped, and then they're just, down in the dirt, or vice versa, or like all the way, 180, where they're getting abused and they don't know what to say because they're like, oh, well, it's the best I'm going to get treated, right? A lot of tell me lies stuff. But you think about what you do and do not want happen for your kid 20 years down the line as they're living your life from, whatever, 18 onwards, when they become an adult, or maybe years before that when they're in school and whatnot. And will that social setting be the same? Will it be a lot of people just hanging out at houses? Will it be will the skating rink still continue to be a thing? Will the movie theater continue to still be a thing? Will people be getting together at the rec center after school, whatever it is? Or is there just this overarching fear that doom is always around the corner? Now, I particularly don't want to live like that, right? I try not to live like that. And we're going to slowly get into the 5 months as a father, but I'm worried about this overarching piece of doom. Now, hand in hand with, as we get into our next thing, of course, the war on Iran. The war on Iran. Now, I don't know if it's officially declared a war, but everyone's kept up with stories for the most part, right? U.S. teamed up with Israel, dropped some bombs on some nuclear sites. Now, there's a whole bunch of reasonings as to why. There's these explanations explaining why we want to get into conflict with them. And my big issue, and now look, okay, I need to first cover my thoughts on war. I got to be careful with this. I think I would like world peace. Now, I think that's a little delirious to think. I think that's a little delusional to think, where you can think that every single country is going to get along with their different beliefs, with their different systems, with their different personalities, to think that every single leader of every other country is going to get along and all think the same chord, where it's like, hey, you know what? Maybe we don't want to end up killing each other. Now, do people buy bombs, F-35s, all this shit for a particular reason? Now, you can make the whole case of national security. You want to defend yourself in case a threat were to ever arrive. But then, you like really hope that the Avengers come to town and Iron Man can take out the threat. But it just feels weird. It feels weird, right? I used to work for a defense company. I remember I literally have handed off F-35s to different countries. I have handed them off. I drove the F-35 to Saudi Arabia and handed off the ship. Yeah. And to every country, right? I thought some of them weren't even allies. And it's just like, what is happening here? It's a little off-putting to be around that kind of piece of equipment, where it's like, oh, this shit's probably going to drop some doom somewhere. This is going to probably pop someone's ass. Now, I kind of feel good about it, though, because most of these things that we're shipping off are to our side. So if shit were to ever pop off, if it were to ever pop off, I think we good. I think we're good. Now, of course, I don't know what the nuclear program or the defense program look in any other country, but I kind of have, like money on ours. I'd probably put like Russia and China up there, but as long as we're not messing with them, I kind of have money on us. People worried about this world war after, our conflict with Iran. And I'm just like, who is going to take Iran's side? There's too many leftists everywhere in China and Russia that they don't want to be in bed with them. Now we have, you sometimes need a psychopath on your team to win a championship. Deshaun Stevenson was easily the psychopath for the 2011 Dallas Mavericks. Now, it's been a handful of people over the years, whether it's Rasheed Wallace, Ben Wallace, Shaquille O'Neal for the Miami Heat. You need a psychopath. Now, unfortunately, our psychopath is Israel. And this is what I don't like, where it's like, I don't like to get involved in other people's business. But at the same time, I don't want to be in bed with some of these people that I deem kind of crazy. Where, hey, didn't you just annihilate all the Palestinian folks over there because they wouldn't sell you their property for 10 cents on the buck? And now we're hanging out with you. We're hanging out with you doing all this other stuff. And I feel like that's what, at the end of the day, it all comes down to as far as the reason. People keep saying like, oh, we're doing this for the oil reserves. We're doing this for, like to establish a better relationship with China because then we would suffocate all the oil reserves that they normally receive. We want to just liberate. We want to just fully, what's it called? What's the word I'm looking for here? Regime, give a little regime change to Iran. Do we want to lead that process? Because, we think that our Western American ideals are best for what the world needs. And all the leftist people here, all the people from, within this greatest melting pot in the world, this is what they need. But I think it all just comes down to is this dude Trump just got poked a couple times. Two things. I think my theory is that he got poked a couple times and then he just said, fuck it. And he wanted to pop off. I think he got pressured by other countries. And I think he just thought, you know what? Okay. And you never know like how people, I think give this like impression online that it's just him behind a door, pressing a button like it's an Xbox controller. But I have to think that there's a little bit more stuff in place to kind of guardrail that within the, like let's say the executive branch. And vice versa, where I think there's a lot of pressure that'll come from outside within your cabinet to say, you know what, all these Democratic folks, they're always soft with this shit. And this is what we need to do because this is the imminent threat that lies. We have all this stuff happening within all these sleeper cells within, like maybe they're busting into New York doing this and that. They keep implanting all these people that are shooting up our schools, trying to kill you on the side. This is what's happening. I don't know, right? Like I'm saying, I think I'm speaking nothing but just theories here. I have no idea. What's truth anymore. And so I think all of this is just either some peer pressure along with a mix of just trying to distract from the whole Epstein stuff. I think if the Epstein stuff were to actually pop off, you would have both branches eventually crumble. And I wouldn't mind that, right? That would perfectly set up my timeline to be president in like 10 years. And I think that would be perfect for me. I don't mind if both of these break down. I think we'll have a little bit of an issue, like I think the Nabali people just put up a rapper in the White House. I don't know if I would mind Kanye West if he came back and just made a second run for it. I don't know if I would mind anymore because this shit seems kind of crazy. I don't think Kanye wants to go to war with anyone. I think he has some thoughts on what's happened in the past, or he's kind of foreseeing, and he's kind of a tattletale. But maybe that's what we need right now. Maybe we need someone that goes into the White House, comes back out and says, hey, there's a lot of shit happening back there. And I don't know what y'all want to do about it. But I don't want y'all to start hating me, posting all these memes on Facebook, all this stuff. So either it's a great distraction along with a mix of him trying to just bomb some folks. But where does this escalate from here? Obviously you don't want to be the country that's ruining relationship with like Saudi Arabia because now they're getting bombed because of shit you did. Right now, everyone wants to start to launch some things. People want to show off their artillery. What is the point of purchasing all these bombs and missiles other than just to threaten people with them, right? You want to use them eventually. Do I think we're in any risk, right, as North America? I don't think so. I don't think there's any Iran facilities that have a missile that can reach over here. But why would they tell us if they did? They probably could go over to India, grab a bunch of engineers, bring them over. They don't have to pay a $100K visa. And they would build a bunch of, and who knows, maybe the Iranian scientists are smarter than the Indian ones. I don't know. I don't know how smart Iranian people are. I had one Muslim best friend in high school, and he was number 2 in the class. If we had to build a nuclear missile, I would put my money on him versus me. So who knows? Who knows if they got some shit that can mess us up? I don't know. But this all, the last time it felt like this in the air was definitely 2001 vibes. I didn't know what was going on, right? But I was a first grader. I didn't really care about any of that stuff. I came back out of the school the day of 9/11, and I went to my dad's car and I said, "Hey, why are the planes hitting the towers? What's going on?" And he said, "Well, this and that." And I said, "Okay, yeah. But why didn't you bring any Popeyes this time?" And that was my demeanor towards war back then. And I'm not gonna lie, it kind of is now too. because you want a certain outcome. You want a certain outcome, but how much do you actually play a factor in any of this shit? You realize, I think more and more as you get older and older, is that, oh shit, I play no factor. Whether I elect this person and this person says they don't want war, and then I elect them and then they go to war. This person says that they're a peaceful president, but they're still dropping bombs over here. It's just, instead, it's over here in Libya. And Libya is a little bit less popular than Iran. So the news stories just aren't as big. Libya can't really fight back, so we pop their ass first. That's what, like that's happened in the past. And with all of this shit, the worst part is that there's so many truths and lies across every platform, across every news channel, across every Instagram post and story or TikTok, whatever you see. How do you know what is truth anymore, right? Maybe CNN wants to sell one narrative. Maybe Fox News wants to sell the other narrative. You got BBC that's already been proven to have doctored videos still reporting news. I don't understand if just because you fire the executive people in that company, how am I supposed to trust that news outlet anymore? That news story didn't get pushed out by 2 people. I can't trust y'all anymore. Where is the truth? And the weirdest thing that came into my head is that I think in the future, all this truth is going to start coming from people like Candace Owens, fucking, what's his name? Theo Vaughn, Joe Rogan. Because what do they have to gain? I've never seen a left-wing, quote-unquote, podcaster. People like to say, right-wing podcaster Joe Rogan. The only left-wing podcaster I really know is the guy that does the Raging Moderates, Scott Galloway, where he is definitely like on a certain side. But at the same time, it feels like he's just more so revealing truth and having a little opinion about it. But he wants to reveal truth. And I feel like podcasting is going to get to that point of just that they are probably the only people telling truth because their money comes from other revenue sources. Now, that's not to say that these people won't start probably getting swayed from one side to the other. And with that being said, I want to backtrack a little, right? Maybe Theo Vaughn could be a Republican at heart, and he's out there telling the news. But it would make me think that this right-wing person is still telling the truth, telling a little bit more of a logical truth about the news than, let's say, Fox News. And these big media outlets, right? These big media companies are supposed to be the truth, but what is and isn't anymore, right? We're living in the age of generative AI. How many videos or images or pictures or news reports have you seen go down like that? There's been stories of debris falling onto a certain city and people thought it was a bomb. Then a little bit later, Iran or Israel come out. Iran comes out and says, well, that we actually shot down a drone and that was the debris from it. How much do you trust any of this shit, right? If you've ever worked in corporate America, you know that after something happens, you have a meeting to say, all right, what's the story we're gonna put out there? Very rarely is it the truth. Very rarely is it the truth that you put out there, right? So when you're reading all this shit about the news, about all these conflicts and what this president's doing, what this world leader's doing, how much of that shit is true? And then people want to go to dinner and have conversations about it. It's like we're better off arguing about Game of Thrones theories than this. Like at least Game of Thrones, there's probably a definitive answer. With over here, how are we supposed to get the truth? Do we have anyone in the White House? That would be a hell of a job to have, right? Anyways, the point is that kiss your neighbors, peace, love, and happiness, and just go out to a bar. Go out to a bar and just have fun with people. It doesn't matter if they're Muslim, black, white, Mexican. Just go have fun with them. It doesn't matter if more than half the people in Frisco are Indian. Go hang out with them, bro. Don't let them do garb out on your streets, but have fun with them. All right. What are we at, 35 minutes? All right, 5 minutes of this. 5 minutes of daddy time. Now, I just reached the 2 months as a father, and it's been solid. It's been there's times that I look at either the child, I look at my wife and the child, and I think like, whoa, like this is pretty It's pretty wild that I'm in this position in life right now, right? Like I've gotten to this stage, this section, this chapter. And it's not that I didn't think I would get here, but I just didn't have that picture in my head. I had the idea, and now I'm seeing it unfold right in front of me. Now I'm not trying to get too sentimental with y'all. I'm not going to start crying. I don't think I'm going to start crying, but I can cut it if I do, right? Now, the three reflections I have to kind of keep this summarized short and sweet. Number one, I said this the last time I checked in, was I understand my blessing. I understand my blessing. I understand every single day that you don't have any problem with your child, and the worst that you're dealing with is maybe a loss of sleep. You're blessed. You're blessed. Every single time you walk out of that pediatrician appointment and the doctor doesn't give you any type of like real feedback, you're blessed. Every single time that baby wakes up and feeds, every time that baby shits, every time that baby pisses, every time that baby cries, you are blessed, bro. Cause all of this shit that you got to do to get to this point, the pain is just as high as the reward. And I think that's the case for anything, right? You want to become a professional bodybuilder, you're probably going to have to put your ass in the gym for 100,000 hours. Obviously, that's an exaggeration, but maybe 1,000 hours. Now, you think about everything that the mom's journey is throughout pregnancy, then giving birth, which is also a fucking roller coaster in itself. Then you have this child, and you got to survive the first couple of weeks. Now, how does that dynamic happen between you and your wife? Do you both still like each other? Do you both still like this kid? What is your living situation? Do you still have money to pay the bills? Now you're going on. And you still try to find some type of, you have to, or else you end up just losing yourself in the sauce. Is you still find some type of like, oh shit, this at the end of the day is what I've been blessed with. So many things could be upside down or south for me right now. Now, do I think my life is in a perfect place? Fuck no. I'm recording this shit on an iPhone. If I pan too much to my right, there's a bathroom door. You think I want to record this podcast and have 20 people listen to it from a room that has no real cameras? Right? My life isn't in a perfect place. Well, let me show you the credit card bills, brother. But at the same time, still blessed. That's number one. Number two, just keep your head down, bro. Like shit starts feeling a bit easy now. And that came with a lot of just like I know Nike coined the phrase just do it, but it really is just do it. Throughout the first couple weeks, you just keep doing the thing. You act like you are running a restaurant, bro. You have emotion, you be there for your wife, but if she can't move or can't do stuff, you just fucking pick it up. You just keep doing it, right? You wash the bottles, you lose the sleep, you change the diapers, you try to put the baby down, you keep doing it. Now like I've already ranted about this last time, but I do think like once again it all just comes back to if you just keep doing it, you pick your head up and you think, oh shit, this I've gotten kind of good at this. Now, with that being said, I'm going to add a little bit additional context to it because I know I mentioned that last time is, just wash your mom's, just wash your baby. What the fuck am I saying? Just what the fuck? Just shut up and wash your wife's pump parts. Now, the biggest thing my wife and I feel like have been beefing about is pumping. Like I have a certain output on it, and it's like, is that hurting the natural supply? You're adding more dishes to the equation, you're adding pain to yourself. How much do we actually need a reserve? And there's all these like questions I ask myself, but at the same time, she's doing it for two things, right? To have a backup supply in case whatever happens to her. Two, she wants to get better at it. And then three, of course, you have to empty it every certain frequency. So like maybe the more you do it, the more you output. Now, I can take either side, right? But here's the thing: you just shut up, just shut the fuck up, bro. And that's been kind of very important for me to just think about, like, every single time. Look, I don't know what it is. And it's maybe just my experience with my mom and now seeing my wife become a mom, is that more than likely, and also seeing my sister be a mom, is more than likely they're correct. They're correct about most things. Maybe not about some of the logical stuff, right? Maybe not about taxes, huh? But more than likely, they are correct in with whatever regards it is that comes to kids. I've never seen shit like it. We were once at Lake Travis, the resort there, and my sister and my oldest nephew were there, and you know, we're dunking him in the pool and whatnot, and then he gets like a little bit too much water in his mouth, and he starts like choking and stuff, right? So he starts kind of freaking out. So we pull him out immediately. He pukes. He pukes over the side of the chair, and then we're just like, oh shit, oh shit, and then and you know, like I think he shat, right? Like you know, like this is what babies do. So we pull his bottoms off, you know, like we clean his bum, and then he's sitting there and he's just staring dead eye into my sister's eyes. And my sister, without even thinking, she just grabbed a towel or whatever it was, and she just put it over his crotch, and he started peeing. And I thought, holy shit, how the fuck did she graph that like that? How did she just know that was about to happen? And then you kind of start getting it. Where, you know, right now I can probably tell when my baby's about to take a shit. It's a little weird trait to have, you know, but it's just like, oh, yo, this is about to happen. And you just get better at it, right? The more you see their faces, you know, the more you see their facial expressions, this and that. And it's normally going to come with the person that spends the most time with them. And that, I think, naturally is going to always be the mom. That is probably always going to be the mom. And so the person that more than likely that spends the most time with them can probably graph them the best. They can read their mind the best. They can anticipate what's going to happen the best. And so all going back to say is just listen to whoever that person is. If you got a nanny at home that probably spends more time with your kids than you do, because you get home and you get to play with them a couple hours and then you put them to sleep. But the nanny's at home, you know, watching every micro expression. They're watching them laugh. They're watching them cry. They're watching them, you know, go through diapers, eat. That person is the person that if they say anything, don't just, you know, whatever. Nah, that person knows best, bro. I don't know what it is. So yeah, just wash the pump parts, bro. Just put your head down and wash those pump parts and support in every way possible. One piece I want to add to that is, like, do you feel like you get closer with your wife during a time like this, right? You always hear about two things. Is one, how kids will probably, you know, tear a marriage apart. And then the other side being, people have a kid to mend a marriage. Now, we had a kid because we were just feeling the vibes. You know, we were just vibing out. In addition, you know, like we just had it on our timeline like that. And we luckily haven't killed each other. Do we, you know, like, you know, get a little frustrated with one another now and then? Of course. It's literally, I think, in my opinion, it's impossible not to. When you're working on that much sleep, when you're working in this brand new territory and world, it's impossible not to. And the biggest thing that I have felt as far as like closeness with my wife, how do I rephrase this, is yes, I have felt closer in a lot of regards. And I think that just comes with traumatic experiences build everlasting relationships, or they, you know, strengthen, bolster existing ones. Now, it's not traumatic as far as like, oh, we'll never forget this, right? But it's pretty extreme. It's extreme, you know, I think, in the most part, where you're doing something that you have never done before. You are now responsible for a human life. You're on a little bit of sleep. You don't really know what you're doing. You're freaking out about everything. You're looking things up. You know, like this brand new world that you're, you know, navigating through with this person. I can fully see how that one does, you know, I guess kind of fix some marriages because it makes you work together. And then two, it can just deepen, you know, an existing marriage. Now, the other piece is the, like the outlook of ruining marriages. Now, I think that just comes with a shitty person. I think that just comes with a shitty, immature person that it just isn't ready to evolve. Whether they weren't ready to have a kid, whether they weren't ready for this lifestyle, whether they're not ready to make that sacrifice of letting go of that old chapter. And hey, it doesn't matter. It's not about, oh, you can still have fun. It's not about that. But is it different than what it was before? If you're living the exact same life that you did before, then more than likely your life hasn't changed. And more than likely that mom is bearing the grunt of it, or vice versa, right? Maybe mom's going down and doing all that stuff and dad's life has changed, right? I believe in equality here. I'm standing up for the fellas. And so I think oftentimes in that situation, when both people haven't evolved and stepped into that next phase, is when you get that friction. And then of course after that, it's just like just wanting to kill each other because you spent so much time with one another. Now the third and final point. I just feel like men should be working. My paternity leave is 6 months long. And I think on average, it can range from probably 2 weeks to 2 months. I think 2 weeks is way too little. I think 2 months as a guy, as the non-birthing parent, I think you should get back to work afterwards. Or there should at least be a ramp up, right? Maybe you're, instead of working 40 hours a week, now you're working 20 hours. And you can slowly start that ramp up. And I have felt this urge of just like, hey, I feel like I'm doing good at this parent thing, right? I'm really enjoying this time with my child. But at the same time, like now we have introduced this third mouth. We have introduced this third person in our life. We're going to have to feed them. We're going to have to clothe them. We're going to have to, buy their plane tickets soon. So we both have our pat leave, right? Our mat leave, our pat leave coverage, but we now need to start earning more. We need to start doing more. We have to start moving differently. How are we going to do that? I don't think that happens with both of us being the best parent in the world for 6 months. I think that it is written in nature that the dad should be the dad, right? The dad should continue being a dad. I'm not saying that he should be, flying off and just being gone for 90% of the time. But the evolutionary role of just going out there and going to war, going and getting the kill and coming back. And look, I'm going to sound a little bit, and this is not sexist at all. This is literally just the older I've gotten, I think the more and more I have believed in the gender roles. And that's not to say one can't step over into one another, right? I think I'm a pretty good cook. I think I'm better at decorating than a lot of my peers that are women. I think there's some of those things that I just feel like I'm a little bit better at than them. Picking out clothes, right? Things that you would assume that are for the other gender. And like, I don't know how much I'm tiptoeing here, but it's just like, when I was 20, I thought, hey, yeah, you know what? I'm good with being a stay-at-home dad. I don't care. Like, whatever. I would love to just stay at home and then most probably have to just cook dinner. Huh? I'm just cooking dinner. I'm making pasta, broccoli, and meatballs. That's all I got to make. The air fryer's doing half of it. That's all I got to make. More than likely, I'm going to order it. And so I'm not saying the stay-at-home mom is just an easy job. The stay-at-home parent is just an easy job. But, man, let me tell you, I think it is much more enjoyable to do that life than to go into an office. And just get told what to do, probably for 40 hours a week. I think being at home, getting to live your life with your kids, seeing them grow up day to day, is quite a blessing to have. But like I said, with us reaching this 2 month mark, I think there's this void where it's just like, hey, I think I need to go back to work now. Now, I'm not saying I don't want to help you in any type of way, but I think we need to start moving differently now. And I think this comes with a lot of dads, right? Like I think a lot of friends that I have, maybe not friends, right? Because we're all kind of in the same boat of just like, how do we change in this chapter, right? How do we get a little bit different? How do we move a little bit more aggressively with money or with our work? But the dads that I know, right? My brother-in-law, let's say Sandeep, friend of the show. All these guys, I've seen them change in their lives, whether it's with fitness, whether it's with sobriety, whether it's with their work ethic, whether it's what their investments are, how they spend money. Because the goal at the end of the day for guys, and a lot of the guys that you're dating might not tell you this, but it's just like they want to enable you to be the stay-at-home wife. Because how does it not benefit both sides? I understand one might not like their role, but on a day-to-day, I think each role will like their duties and responsibilities. And I think just genetically and metamorphically and physically and just worldly, this is what we're kind of just programmed to do. I think for years, like we've had guys go to war and women do and women do the gathering and the herding and the cooking. Now, of course, things have changed quite drastically, right? Now a woman can make $200K, $300K, and the guy would be making $60K. Okay, well, does it really make sense for the guy to go back to work? No, I'm not even going to front with y'all. My wife makes more than me. It's not a crazy amount, but we're both in the tech space and we both make about the same amount of money. So it's just like, hey, if you want to be the person that goes out there and you're going to go and start making $300K, $400K, $500K, 6, 7, 8, 9 mil, all that stuff, go do your thing. If that is your desire and that's what your ambition to do, how can I bolster you to do that? Or would you prefer to do this other role? We both just have to have a role. Because if we both try to live in this world, and I'm not preaching at my wife, right? I'm just preaching to the choir, to the congregation. You can only get good at your role if that is your main focus. If you're living in both roles, right? If you're trying to be the best parent while at the same time being the best killer out there, it's not going to work. There's no chance it works. You think Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, LeBron James have a great relationship with their kids? Probably not at the time of the climb. But they can come back and work on it because it's like, hey, do you want a Ferrari for your birthday? Right? Like what the trade-off is there. Both people can be really great at their roles. But I think one thing is just defining them. Two, understanding there may be times that you don't want to be in that role, right? You may be having an off day. Maybe you don't want to watch the kids. Maybe you want to go out there and just spend some money, go spend some time out there, right? We're still independent people. We're still brought out into this world as a single individual, right? We're not born in pairs. We're not born tied to our significant other or tied with our kid. The only person we're tied to is our mom. And the point is to evolve and carry it on. We're getting a little too deep in how many edibles have I eaten, huh? But all coming back to, I'm enjoying these 6 months of not working. But at the same time, there's just this urge. And I don't know whether I'm going to spend that energy in the podcast, in finding a new job, in going back out there and doing stand-up in the Houston area. But there's just this fire, and I think there's nothing wrong with it, and I think this is just how we're programmed to be. With that all being said, I appreciate your guys' time. Of course, nonetheless, don't forget to drop a comment, drop a like, share it with a friend. Happy March, happy International Women's Month. Hey, make sure you buy your lady something nice. I'm coming up on my 1-year anniversary. Yes, indeed, I made it 1 year. Hey. A busy year, nonetheless. Holy shit, maybe we should have her back on the podcast. And with that all being said, I'll see you guys next time, and goodbye. Hey.